Hello there, it's Cassie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I have card number 4 in my Halloween series, and I'm hoping to get at least one more card up before Halloween happens. So let's get started with the card. I'm going to be using this adorable red rubber stamp from Tailored Expressions called Batty, and it has a matching die. And to start, it has all of its little faces. They're all connected. And I assume that's to make the stamp set a little bit cheaper. That's why they don't cut it themselves. So I am just going to snip those apart using my Tim Holtz snippers or scissors, or I forget exactly what they're called, but I will have those listed down below. Those things are great. I use them for my foam squares, and I also use it to cut the rubber as well. So now I have a piece of Express It cardstock along with my Memento Tuxedo black ink, and I'm just stamping out that little bat 5 different times, and I plan to do some Copic coloring. That's why I use those 2 products. So I clean that off, and now I'm going to stamp their little faces. And at first I was a little intimidated, but it's actually quite simple to stamp their faces. Since they're small, you just ink them up and put it right over the top, and because they're supposed to be kind of crazy, even if you do get them a little bit off center, it's not a big deal. So I'm really loving these little stamps, and I know that Tailored Expressions has quite a few lines, or a line called the Grumplings, and they have quite a few stamps in that line. So now I'm stamping the inside. I just figured while I had all that stuff out I would do that, and I'm using the Tailored Expressions Corn Blue to stamp the sentiment, and then I'm going to stamp the bat using some Distress Oxide ink in the color Hickory Smoke. And I'm stamping their faces once again using that same ink, and super simple. And then I'll set that off to the side to dry because those Distress Oxides it takes a little bit of time to dry there. They are a pigment, well, I guess they're formulated a little bit more like a pigment ink, but they're like a hybrid, I suppose. So now I'm going to do some sponging. I am using my Clouds for Days stencil by Simon Says Stamp, and I'm using a mini ink blending tool, just dragging that ink up the paper. I'm still not super great at using these kinds of stencils, but I'm trying. I'm going to keep practicing. I know people have given me some pointers, and I've been trying, so I'm just going to keep on trying, and I end up really liking the way this turns out. I just keep turning that stencil and inking up my mini ink blending tool, and then dragging that up across the top, and anywhere there's harsh lines I will kind of drag that out, or kind of try and blend that out a little bit using my mini ink blending tool, because you can see there's a few spots where I didn't do a very good job of making that a little bit softer. And then I'll set that off to the side as well. And now it's time to color my little bats. I'm coloring them all the exact same. I'm starting with a B97 for their base layer, and it's kind of a small image, so you don't need to do a lot in the way of shading, so I didn't. So I put that down, and then I went on to the color B39 as my darker tone, and I just went ahead and colored their wings completely that color, and then I do just a little bit of shading on his little belly, his feet, his head, and his little bat ears. And then I'll blend that out using that same B97, and I'll color them all the exact same. And then I'll color their mouths and their noses with the RV34. So you won't see that coloring, but you will see that end result. And now I'm lining up the die that came in the set. It just has that one little bat die, and I'm going to run that through my Sizzix Sidekick after I tape that down with some micropore tape. And then I will run each of those through 5 different times. And it does a great job of cutting out that white border. And for my base, I'm using some of that corn blue from Tailored Expressions, and I scored that at 5.5 inches. So now it's a 5.5 inch by 4.25. So it's a top folding A2 size card. I have a piece of vellum, and I'm going to stamp the sentiment onto the vellum. And I'm just going to use that Memento Tuxedo black ink. Yes, this is a dye ink, so it will sit on top for a little bit until it dries. So I'm being very careful. And then I'm going to heat set that with my heat gun, being careful not to warp that vellum. But you'll be able to tell once it's actually dry. It'll take the shine away. And to adhere that to the front, because that's vellum, I don't want to actually use any adhesive on the front. So I'm going to try and line it up, but once again, I always have problems lining things up straight, even using that grid. But I do my best, and once I feel like I get that close enough, I'll wrap that around the edges, and then I'm just going to use some washi tape to tape those edges down, because you're not going to see the back. I'm going to tape that down using a tape runner, and this will just keep that vellum right in place. So I'm using that Tombow adhesive, and I'll adhere that to my card panel. And I have covered all of those bats, their backing, with foam tape, and I am going to put all of those down using that foam tape so they have a good amount of dimension. I just thought those bats were so cute, and there were so many cute faces, 6 of them to be exact. I didn't obviously use them all, but they're so cute. But then I went ahead and I'm going to end up covering up those eyes. I love the eyes, but I have these adorable doodlebug shape sprinkles called Eerie Eyes, and I couldn't resist covering those eyes using these Eerie Eyes. It just was perfect. Since this is a Halloween card, I figured I had to do it. So I end up covering each of those with some different eyes. And there's all different sizes in this little set, and I will, if I can find those, I will link those down below for you. So then I will adhere that inside panel using that same Tombow adhesive, and then for a final bit of embellishment, I am going to use the Nuvo Crystal Drops in the color Galaxy Violet. And once I'm done doing that, that will end up finishing off this card. So I will have all the products I used linked down below as best I can. And if you liked this video, hit the like button and share it if you want to. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. And as always, I do appreciate you stopping by.